Hello, I'm Brian. This is Just the Dis, a YouTube channel where we talk about Blu-rays. And I have some new discs to talk about. I'm going to do a little collection update here. Let's get into this. First up, we have Daughters of Darkness, cult classic vampire film. Just a really interesting film from 1971, I believe, and a great release from Blue Underground. It's been said on many channels and by many people, but let me reiterate. Blue Underground is doing incredible work in the 4K arena. Some of the best work I've seen in any 4K releases out there, and this is one of their best they've done so far. I have Zombie, I have Maniac, I need to pick up House by the Cemetery and New York Ripper, which I will. I'm also going to get Vigilante when it comes out. That's a great Bill Lustig movie on 4K that's coming in December. They're doing too great a job for me to miss out on these. So this release, they had previously put out on Blu-ray. You get a nice lenticular cover, of course. I flipped the artwork on the inside. This is what the old Blu-ray artwork used to look like. Inside, booklet. You got your soundtrack. You got your 4K, and then you have your Blu-ray as well. It is a really fascinating vampire film because it's so low-key and so moody. In fact, let me read something to you. I actually I prepared a little bit because this is such a special release. I went back to the original text from which I discovered Daughters of Darkness. That is from my old pal Danny Perry and his Cult Movie Books series. And he talks about this movie in here, and I actually transcribed some of his thoughts on the film. It's directed by a guy named Harry Kumel, who I don't think did a lot of movies, but let me just read you what Danny had to say about this movie. He says, Kumel's strength is his audacious style. Most directors fade to black, a few fade to white, Kumel fades to blood red. The film contains many horror conventions: mist, too loud suspense music, and vampires who cast no reflections, don't drink alcohol, and spend time peering into bedrooms and balconies, but nothing is handled conventionally. How cleverly he uses sound, music, his wonderful sets, including a deserted hotel that predates the one in Kubrick's The Shining, colors, especially red, of course, clothes, character placement, and weird camera angles. He often shoots from above or at a great distance to visually convey the terrible isolation each character feels. He knows how to create moods without relying on dialogue. It is dialogue that establishes the film's humorous tone. It can recall the dreamlike quality of Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now. And then he says, Harry Kumel never became a major director, but this one film proves he had great talent. Daughters may be a wicked film, as some critics and viewers have complained, but it is sexy, imaginative, and undeniably fun. It is a curiosity piece that viewers who have tired of the latest trend in horror films should surely seek out. And I really couldn't have said that better myself. It is a really neat movie, just about sort of a couple who end up at this seaside resort that's very deserted during the off season, and they encounter two women. You have Delphine Seyrig as one of them, and there may be some vampirism at play, and there may be some seduction and some other stuff happening. I really want people to discover this film. I just think it's one that I don't know. It's a cult film, and you'll see why. And it's just one of those very interesting mood pieces. And as I said, this 4K looks fantastic. I know that you've heard that over and over again. It's because they're really doing great work, and I can't say enough good about it. The features, we've got some of the old stuff that was on the Blu-ray, audio commentary with co-writer-director Harry Kumel, which is fascinating, audio commentary with star John Carlin, and journalist David Del Val, and then, of course, a new audio commentary with Kat Ellinger, one of my favorites. And she is author of Devil's Advocates, Daughters of Darkness. The woman wrote the book on Daughters of Darkness and has a podcast named after it with Sam Deegan. Their show is called Daughters of Darkness for a reason. This movie inspires that much. So that commentary is very good also. I did listen to that. It also has Locations of Darkness, interviews with co-director Harry Kumel and co-writer, co-producer Pierre Drouot. Playing the Victim, interview with star Danielle Umay. Daughter of Darkness, interview with star Andrea Rao. And trailers and such. But if you're looking for a nice looking 4K of an old vampire movie, this is your go-to. This is what you want. But like I said, if you're on board with 4K and you've been keeping tabs on different companies that are putting things out, I'm sure you're already aware that Blue Underground is really killing it. So this should be no surprise. I know people are talking about this one a lot, but as I said, there's a reason for that. This is a really great release. All right, now I have some Clint Eastwood movies. I had some in the last update, I think, but I've got some more, and these are all good. This one in particular, Don Siegel's The Beguiled, remade by Sofia Coppola recently. I don't think it quite stands up to this original. Just one of the great gothic borderline horror movies. It's sort of about a soldier who I want to say I can't remember if he's from the North or South right now. Darn it. Let's see here. During the Civil War, a wounded Union soldier is sheltered by the headmistress and students of a girls' academy in the South. As his health returns, his desire increases, but can he trust these enemy women not to turn him in? And things get complicated because there are a lot of young ladies at this place, and some of them are quite attracted to Clint Eastwood, which is understandable. But it really makes things tricky when there is potential jealousy and other things involved. It goes dark. It goes real dark. So anyway, this is a nice slipcase, and then there's the reverse art for that. Oh, look who. Again, I'm on a roll here. This has a commentary from Kat Ellinger, which is also great, not surprisingly. Interview with actress Melody Thomas Scott. And then The Beguiled, Misty, Dawn, and Clint featurette, which is really cool too. And it's a new 2K master. So if you had this as part of like an Eastwood collection, this looks better. And as I said, it's one of my favorite Eastwood films. Maybe I didn't say that. It is one of my favorite Eastwood films, one of my favorite collaborations between he and Don Siegel. I think it's one of Don Siegel's best films. Really dark and twisted film. So I'm excited that this is getting a nice new Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. So that's that. Then we have more Eastwood, and this one is also a gem that more people probably know. It's Fatal Attraction before Fatal Attraction, the original. Also brand new 2K master. This one has a nice alternate artwork that I really like. That's good stuff. Region A, and lots of features, which I will talk about in just a second. But yeah, it's this one is directed, of course, by Eastwood. I believe his debut feature, and it stars him and Jessica Walter, who he's a radio DJ. She becomes obsessed with him. She gets involved with him. Things get a little bit out of hand. Like I said, very Fatal Attraction-y. You will definitely notice some similarities. I was gonna say that this might go further than that, but they're both pretty good, thrillers. And I do like that tagline. But this one has an audio commentary by film historian Tim Lucas, who I think is fantastic. Again, one of the Cadillac film commentators you can get on a disc. And I haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, but I very much look forward to it. Interview with co-star Donna Mills, video essay by film historian Howard S. Berger. Play It Again, look back at Play Misty For Me documentary. I think that might have been on the DVD, the Universal Collector's Edition DVD, but a nice feature nonetheless. And then this also has the Beguiled, Misty, Dawn, and Clint featurette. And then Clint Eastwood directs and acts, photo montage, the evolution of a poster photo montage, 2 TV spots, Trailers from Hell with Adam Rifkin. Really nice release. Again, this is one of these. I like that they're doing the slipcases now. Okay. Lastly, in the Eastwood, we have the Iger Sanction. Show the. This has alternate art. Yes, it does have alternate artwork as well. Again, Region A. And this one, also a brand new 2K master. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember what this one's about. I've seen this one. International espionage thriller set in the Swiss Alps. Yes. Eastwood's character is a retired professional assassin who has adopted a calmer lifestyle with a pursuit of art collecting. When a close friend is murdered, he is suddenly forced out of retirement to hunt the team of mountain climbers, one of which is an unidentified target. Co-stars George Kennedy, and features some of the most exciting mountain climbing sequences ever captured on film. I do remember those sequences being pretty solid, and this movie being very un-PC in terms of the way that Eastwood's character and the rest of the characters in the film treat the women in the movie. I just remember watching it and being like, okay. All right, guys. Produced by Richard D. Zanuck. Interesting. But yeah, this is also directed by Eastwood. Music by John Williams, which is good. I remember that. Vanetta McGee is really good in this as well. I'm a big fan of hers. And George Kennedy's always fun for me. This one is another killer commentary track by film critic Nick Pinkerton, a very class act. I think I've talked about him on one of these updates. He did a commentary for the game, for the Arrow release of that, but he's done a ton of commentaries, and they're all great. I haven't heard a single Nick Pinkerton commentary that I didn't think was fantastic. He is like, I don't want to say Tim Lucas Jr., because that's demeaning to him, but he's like that kind of a, very detail-oriented, wall-to-wall, academic, but entertaining, with a good sense of humor. I just really like Nick Pinkerton a lot. And he's really good on this one too. Interview with actor Rainier Schoen and archival interview with actress Heidi Bruhl. And this one, again, I think I said it, but brand new 2K master for that as well. Iger Sanction. Okay, this one I'm really excited about. This is from Scorpion via Kino. Grace of My Heart. Allison Anders film from 1996. I couldn't remember when it was from. This is probably my favorite Allison Anders film, and she's a great filmmaker. If you haven't seen Gas Food Lodging, that's an Arrow Academy release, I think it's Arrow Academy. Definitely worth picking up that disc, but this is really wonderful. Just an incredible cast. Martin Scorsese is an executive producer on it. It's the kind of story he would have told. It's sort of a long look at this woman's life, and the woman is played by Ileana Douglas, and she is a songwriter who wants to be a singer-songwriter in the late 50s and into the 60s. This sort of carries through a couple different periods of her life and a couple different men that she ends up with. And it's just a really great story. It focuses on the Brill Building, which was a building in New York where they used to sort of have an all-encompassing setup where they'd have, songwriters writing songs, they had recording studio spaces, and they had talent to record the songs, and so they would just knock them out. And before the British invasion, before, groups like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones came in, where they were writing their own songs, making their own material, the Brill Building was, I don't want to say a gold mine, but it was a factory for hit songs. And they just always were cranking out something interesting. So she starts in the Brill Building and then tries to sort of break out of that mold of being just a songwriter. She wants to be a singer-songwriter. And Illeana Douglas is fantastic in this movie. And she sort of encounters, like I said, some different men. One played by John Turturro, one played by Eric Stoltz, one played by Matt Dillon. His character is very much sort of a Brian Wilson-y, Beach Boys-y scenario. So you get to see this progression of rock and roll from the 50s to the 60s. And Allison Anders is just a wonderful director in many ways, but one that I've always loved is that she's a big music fan. Like, she knows a ton about music and loves music in the same way that, say, Scorsese does. So you can see why they would be wanting to produce a movie about the Brill Building, about early rock and roll. And I also love how, apparently, based on what she's saying here, there's some extras on this, she's able to sort of bring in her own personal experiences into some of these interactions with the Illeana Douglas character and the men she meets. And it just has a real authenticity to it, an awkwardness, things don't always work out kind of approach. But yeah, I just love this movie, and the transfer looks good. If you had this old Universal Collector's Edition, I used to love these, by the way. Basically, you don't need it, because this disc brings over all the features that were on that Collector's Edition DVD. And I'll just read the back of this because it's a little more specific, but you have your audio commentary with Allison Anders, which is great. Like, she's one of those people that I could listen to talk about movies just all day long. Like, she knows so much about cinema and loves cinema so much. And again, the music stuff that she's bringing into this, I don't know. I just really loved it. And then the original featurette, they call it a featurette. That makes it sound short. It's like 40 minutes, and it's on the making of the film, and it has interviews with Martin Scorsese, Illeana Douglas, Eric Stoltz, Matt Dillon a little bit, John Turturro, and songwriters and musicians who contributed to the memorable songs in the film. Elvis Costello wrote a song for the film. They definitely had some modern songwriters come in and try and do new songs. And the soundtrack is great. I mean, this movie is just fantastic. I'm so excited this is on Blu-ray. And edited in part by Thelma Schoonmaker also. So she ain't no slouch. And I do like what they've done with the sort of record album Blu-ray. Anyway, this is a real gem for me, and one that I'm so excited to have in the collection. Definitely worth your time. This is available digitally if you really wanted to check it out that way, but I do recommend picking up this Blu-ray and checking out all the features. Just a really great cast, a really great story, and a great film from Allison Anders. Grace of my heart. Okay, now we got some Scream Factory Hammer stuff. First up, Brides of Dracula. There's the alternate artwork on Brides Collector's Edition. We know Scream has been really working hard to put out a bunch of Hammer stuff on Blu-ray, and they are doing a great job. This is one I had not seen, but I'd heard... Well, I know it's directed by... oh, darn it. Terrence Fisher, who is definitely one of the guys that I know and like from the Hammer productions. And It's written in part by Jimmy Sangster, who's a screenwriter that I also like very much. Yeah, this one has definitely got some great mood to it, some great vibes. It says, Marianne, a beautiful young girl, is stranded en route to a teaching assignment in Eastern Europe. She is persuaded to spend the night at the nearly deserted castle of the mysterious Baroness Meinster. In the castle, Marianne accidentally discovers a man changed the wall in his room. The Baroness explains only that he is her sick and feeble-minded son. Unable to get any further information from her or the maid, Marianne steals a key and sets him free, but once unbound, the man, Baron Meister, fiendishly recruits the undead for his evil purposes, while Marianne and Dr. Van Helsing, Peter Cushing, try to stop him in this classic Hammer film. So, when you got Cushing, you got the Cush, you know you're in good hands. And I always tell people, you know, you've seen him in Star Wars. The reason he's in Star Wars is because of these movies and how good he is in them. Look at how badass he looks there, right? And so this is a new 2K scan from the Inner Positive, new audio commentary with film historian Steve Haberman and film historian Konstantin Nazir, introduction to making of Brides of Dracula, and then Making of Brides of Dracula, featuring interviews with actress Yvonne Monlure, screenwriter Jimmy Sangster, assistant director Hugh Marlowe, continuity supervisor Pauline Harlow, art director Don Mingay, model maker Margaret Robinson, and producer Anthony Hinz, narrated by Edward D'Souza. So this is a really well-stacked special edition. If you're into the Hammer releases that Scream Factory's been doing, this is a must, I would say. This is among the best of the Hammer films that I've seen, and a great release, a good-looking release. These Hammer films always tend to catch my eye when I see these transfers, and they just pop, right? So that is the first of the two I'm going to talk about. Next one I haven't had a chance to check out yet, but I've also heard this is great. Frankenstein Created Woman, also with Peter Cushing. And this one says, in his most conceptually wild and outrightly science fictional of Hammer Frankenstein films, Baron Frankenstein, Peter Cushing, and Dr. Hertz are embarking upon an experiment to capture the souls of the dead and impose them into other bodies. When their assistant Hans is unjustly accused of murdering his girlfriend Christina's father and is himself put to death, the two men claim his body and trap his soul in their laboratory. Meanwhile, Christina, Susan Denberg, is consumed with grief over the death of her beloved Hans and commits suicide. Frankenstein and Dr. Hertz are able to transfer Hans' soul to Christina's healed body, which results in a vision of beauty. Little Bride of Frankenstein-y kind of thing happening. Their experiment appears successful until Frankenstein discovers that Christina's seductive appetites are being driven by the spirit of Hans and his passion for revenge. Sounds twisted and entertaining. But yeah, this is definitely one that I would love to check out. Also, a new 2K scan of the original film elements, new audio commentary by film historian Steve Haberman and film historian Konstantin Nazir, just as with that one. Commentary by actors Derek Folds and Robert Morris, and film historian Jonathan Rigby. World of Hammer episode, The Curse of Frankenstein, something called Hammer Glamour documentary. So it's got a lot of stuff going for it. Here's the back. Region A. I need to catch up on some Hammer stuff. There was only so much time in October, and I didn't get a chance to dig into some of the Hammer I would have liked, but these Scream Factory Hammer editions must be doing well because they continue to come out, and that's exciting for fans of that series. All right, here we have After Midnight, Jeremy Gardner and Christian Stella's film from this year. One of my favorite films from this year, actually. And this is a really nice special edition from Arrow. This is a UK release. It's region B locked, so you would need multi-region player to play it. But it is worth the pickup, I would say. Here's the alternate artwork for After Midnight. I mean, the basic story of After Midnight, I don't want to give away too much. But it's about a breakup. It's about a guy played by Jeremy Gardner who is lamenting the loss of his girlfriend, played by Brea Grant. She's great in this. And there is a monster that starts coming to his house every night. And so he is struggling with her not being there, and we slowly find out what happened in terms of why she's not there. And he's dealing with this monster, which is crazy. It also has Henry Zebrowski, who I guess he was in The Wolf of Wall Street too. I forgot about that. He is from the last podcast on the left, and he steals the movie. Almost just about every scene he's in. He's sort of like the kind of goofy buddy character, that hangs out with Jeremy Gardner, and their chemistry is amazing. And there's even a really great feature on here where they have the actual video that Jeremy Gardner and Christian Stella sent to Henry Zebrowski to sort of beg him to be in the movie, talk about how much they like him, how much they wanted him to be in the movie. And I'm so glad it worked because it elevates the whole thing. The Jeremy Gardner, Brea Grant chemistry is good, and putting Henry Zebrowski in the mix just made it that much better. But I won't give away too much more about that. It's just a really great... You can see... Oh, and you get the battery, which, if you own the Scream Factory version, I think you're basically getting the same disc, except it's it's region B locked. But let me see here. Audio commentary featuring writer, director, and actor Jeremy Gardner, producer, actor Adam Cronenheim, and director of photography Christian Stella. The making of the battery, which is great. Feature-length 90-minute documentary on the making of the film. Featurette on the music, outtakes. Yeah, that's basically the same as the Scream Factory Blu-ray. So you could get rid of your Scream Factory and buy this and get both. This also has some nice features on the After Midnight disc. Audio commentary with Christian Stella and Jeremy Gardner, which was a lot of fun. Lakeland, Florida Q&A featuring Stella, Gardner, actors Ashley Song, Nicholas Masciotra, Taylor Zodke, script supervisor Elise Stella, and second assistant director Juan Ortiz. There's something called Pitching Something Else, which is the previous name of this film before they called it After Midnight. It was called Something Else. And it has Stella and Gardner pitching the character of Wade to Henry Zebrowski. That's what I was talking about. And then it has self-interview while self-quarantined during the coronavirus outbreak. A brand new interview with actor and producer Justin Benson, who plays like a local cop that the Jeremy Gardner's character kind of deals with a little bit. So that's fun. Brea and Barack find Fantastic Fest scooters. Actors Brea Grant and Barack Hardley hunt down scooters following the Fantastic Fest screening of After Midnight, and then the behind-the-scenes featurette, outtakes, etc. So this is a really nice special edition for a new movie. I don't talk about a lot of new movies on this channel, but I like this one a lot. And I couldn't help myself. I had to pick this up. Arrow, they just always get me, man. They always sucker me. So well worth getting. Well worth your time. After Midnight, Region B. And last but not least, we have Adaptation. Charlie Kaufman. I know we're all thinking more about him as he recently had his movie and thinking of ending things, pop up on Netflix. A very interesting film, one that I'm still wrestling with. I don't think I love it as much as some, but I do find it fascinating. This is among the best work that Charlie Kaufman ever did. Of course, this is directed by Spike Jonze and written by Kaufman. Ostensibly an adaptation of Susan Orlean's The Orchid Thief, but really not, because it's basically about a guy played by Nicolas Cage, who's named Charlie Kaufman. So he wrote himself into his own script because he was having so much trouble adapting this book. And then he also has a brother named Donald, also played by Cage. So you get a dual role, which is always a blast. And when you have somebody like Cage, dual role, just doesn't happen enough. Let's say that. Because he's great as both characters. And he definitely seems to come across the vibe and feeling of the real Charlie Kaufman in some ways, in some of his, the way that he deals with writing. I mean, there's some great stuff in here. I mean, like, he goes to a screenwriting seminar by, I can't remember if, what's his name? Oh, shoot, I'm not going to remember it now. But it goes to it's based on a Robert McKee, the character, the real guy who does these stories about screenwriting. And it's just really fun to see him sort of super meta, trying to sort out the screenplay, writing himself into it, the stories of The Orchid Thief, and the characters in that, story featuring Chris Cooper as the Orchid Thief and Susan Orlean, played by Meryl Streep. And it goes so crazy. And if you haven't seen this one in a while, it's really something special. It's one of the great, I think I might prefer it to Being John Malkovich. And I'm just trying to think if it's my favorite Spike Jonze movie, and it might be. But I just really think it's so meta and so strange and so funny and sad in parts and goofy and just out of control weird. I just feel like we haven't been talking about this movie enough since it came out. And so it was nice to get this special edition. Unfortunately, the downside is that I don't know about the transfer. It doesn't say much here. All we get is an original featurette and a still gallery. So we're not getting much in the way of features. I would love to hear Spike Jonze talk about it a little bit more. But I'm just glad to have it on Blu-ray. It does look better than my old DVD. But it's definitely one that I feel like I didn't see anybody getting excited about. When this got announced through Shout Select, which is a line I enjoy. I have a bunch of them over here. You can kind of see it over here in the background. I like the Shout Select line quite a bit. They put out a lot of movies that I think are really solid sort of cult items. And I think that's where this kind of lands now. But if you haven't seen it in a while, definitely worth picking up on Blu-ray from Shout, even though you're not getting a ton of extras. It's still worth your time and still a really fascinating and excellent movie. So that's Adaptation. And that is it for this round of my Blu-ray collection update. Let me know if you've picked up anything interesting in the last month or so that you're really excited about in the comments below. And if you like these videos, please like and subscribe if you could. That would be greatly appreciated. But thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.